Um, on this film, you talked about being a gatekeeper. Were there moments where you're like, this location's not good, and because of this lighting, or because the blocking will not work, et cetera, et cetera? If you can give me some examples of that.
Yeah, there were. I mean, that happened a lot, and there are a lot of locations we went to that we didn't end up shooting in, and there's some locations that we did end up shooting in that I didn't think were that successful. But that's just always the thing about filmmaking. There's always a million things at play, and you've got to be careful about what you fall on your sword for, in the bigger picture. And that's the other thing as well, I think, is that you've got to remain objective. Objectivity is I think, the greatest, most important part of an artistic process is that you've got to always be able to step back and look at it from a different point of view and assess it, because so much time in film, you just get so
Yep.
sucked into a moment and a thing, and a lot of people huddle around you and they're all getting sucked into something, and you just can't see the wood for the trees. And it's often not very good. And you waste a whole bunch of energy doing that. But the people I've always had a lot of respect for are those people who can get into that passion and get into that level, but just for a split second, step back and look at it and identify it and be very honest. No ego. Is this actually any good? Is this the right direction? Yes, no, and be able to kill that baby straight away if it's not. And no remorse, just move on and put as much passion into the next direction. That's a great filmmaker, Um, and it's a tough thing. You're never born with that. You have to learn it, I think. You have to have the experience and just learn. And it could be in a different métier. It could be a different world that you brought that skill set to filmmaking. And a lot of time I see that with filmmakers who haven't been filmmakers for long, but they've been something else for a long time, and they've got that skill set and they brought it here. They're just able to go like, yeah, this is a great idea, but it's not good enough. Let's move on and go over here. That's my idea. Your idea, it's a lot better version of my idea. Let's do that, And that, I think, that's part of what makes great filmmakers is that generosity. I remember Peter Jackson walking on set on Lord of the Rings and just saying to everyone in the crew, look, these are a bunch of ideas. If anyone's got a better idea, pipe up, please. I'm interested. And people did, you know, and and he listened to some of it, and it's there. It's just, I think, if as a filmmaker, walk around a film set, if you walk around with the pretense to be some genius and everyone else, you're just there to service my vision, nothing ever good comes of that.
Yeah. No, the film is done before it even starts.
Yeah, there's no hope, The film will only be as good as it possibly could be on the page. It will never be great. But if someone can walk on set and inspire a group of people to make it this as good as it possibly can in this moment in that day, that's something. And that's important, I think, from a filmmaker's point of view. And a lot of filmmakers they forget to see that because they've got their head so buried in the sand. And people just won't put their heart on the floor for you if that's how you work. So yeah.
Well said. Um, I remember now what I was going to ask you about Lilo and Stitch. So, when was the visual effects team working in some capacity more or less on the set, so you were able to see some of the dailies with Stitch, or was it like everything was in post production, like even if it was not fully composited or anything?
Hmm. I mean, look, they were on set every day working hard. As they always had to gather the information they needed every time and talk about the shot every time and what Stitch will do in the shot real time and how we're going to approach that. So it was being visualized. It was pre-visualized to a point, but it was never the previous stuff that we had was never obeyed to by the frame. It was always changed. But it was always a constant point of discussion, and that's their role on set is to just, this is possible, that's not possible, just to know what's coming up. To answer your question about did we see rough stuff, I didn't see a lot of it. I mean, maybe Dean saw some of it.
Mm,
Um, that was more post, yeah, after my time.
makes sense. Um, so you talked about you have a 9-year-old son or daughter, he said.
Son, Leo,
What was the moment, scene-wise in the film, that really, I mean, you said that they were seeing whenever she, Lilo was crying, everybody was crying on the set. But was there a specific moment where it just deeply hit you as a father? Because the film is about two girls who don't have parents, right? And from their standpoint, do you recall that and that really affected you emotionally as a human being?
Um, I think there were two moments for me. There's one, the scene where she sees where Stitch comes to the planet, where she's watching it through the window. Um, I was always looking for one scene of absolute wonder in the movie, and that was it for me. But it was interesting because Lilo being Lilo, Maya being Maya, doesn't do like wonder. It's not in her wheelhouse. It's just not what she does. So her version of it was quite subdued, but it was there, and I thought that was really great. So that was great for me. And then I think the scene at the end, the Redux scene when Maya's in her bedroom and the portal opens and she gets the visit from the sister, the older sister. I think that's for me a great moment in the film that they're going to be all right. They've got each other. That's all they'll need. The future is bright, and there's just a lot of love there, and it was very genuine, I thought. And um, it's a Disney movie. It has to wrap up
Yeah,
some way in that, but I think
of
it's a really
course.
good version of that. Is what I'm trying to express is I think as far as that ending needed to be, I think that ending does that very well.
Yeah.